Okay, at this time, I will call the September 22nd meeting of the Wolfeboro Police Commission to order. It's now 4:00 p.m. I would ask everybody to stand and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance.
Okay, and also at this time, I'll take a consideration of minutes for August 19th, 2021.
I would move that the minutes be accepted as presented.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
I will second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Coop. Motion made by Commissioner O'Brien. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Chief, do you have anything for non-public today? Do you have anything for non-public today?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. All right, at this time, for those that are in the audience, as well as those that may be watching from home, I would like to introduce everybody seated here before you this afternoon. To my far left, or excuse me, my far right, the camera's far left, our Executive Secretary, Sherry Moore. To my immediate right, Commissioner Sean O'Brien. I'm in Chairman Steve. Sean Coop, I'm sorry. I know Sean O'Brien. Commissioner Sean Coop. I am Chairman Steve Wood. To my left, Commissioner Bob O'Brien, Chief Rondo, and Captain Libby to our left. At this point, we're going to suspend our normal business for the purpose of an agenda item. A request was made from the public to come and present to the Commission. This time, I would invite Jessica Williams to come up to the microphone. Ms. Williams, do you prefer to be addressed as Ms. Williams or Jessica? Or
Jessica's great.
Jessica?
I'm going to move this because I'm not very tall. All right. You hear me?
We can.
Okay. Thank you.
I just
for
want
having
to,
me.
I do want to just caution you because of, there is obviously an ongoing case, if you will. Mm-hmm. Just be careful, to not self-incriminate because this is a recorded. You're free to speak.
Sure.
But obviously we don't want anything, to be self-incriminatory. So whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me more than 5 minutes to speak today. Also, thank you to my mother and grandmother for coming. My 94-year-old grandmother. She's a. Oh. Thank you for coming. So many of you know who I am. My name is Jessica Williams. I am entering my 18th. I'm from Wolfeboro, by the way. I'm entering my 18th year of business here in Wolfeboro. I have been a public servant. I have been elected by 2 different governors to do 2 terms to both my state professional board and the New Hampshire DOT Commission. I'm familiar with 91A and public body meeting procedures. Most importantly, I'm the mother to 2 children, which is why I'll be leaving right after I speak today. My daughter has a field hockey game, so I'm not leaving here in a huff. I'm going there so that my 17-year-old daughter feels supported at her game. I'm also one of 5 members of the public who was arrested at the September 13th, 2021 school board meeting at the directives given by Chief Dean Rondo. I'm here for several reasons today. I'm going to ask, I don't think that anyone's going to interrupt me today. If I ask any questions, they're completely rhetorical, and I do not expect an answer. I know this is a public meeting, and I do not deserve the right to an answer at this meeting. The first thing I want to say is I'm innocent. I did not commit a crime. I was attending a public meeting in a public place. As a member of the public, exercising my right to redress my government as protected and guaranteed in New Hampshire RSA 91A and the New Hampshire Constitution, Part 1, Article 8, which every single one of you should be familiar with, including Dean Rondo. The charges against me and these other members of the public are unlawful. Here's why. The school board has no authority to make policy that members of the public must follow per New Hampshire RSA 18915. The legal language is plain, and it's easy to understand, so let me read it to you, please. The school board may, unless otherwise provided by statute or state board regulation, prescribe regulations for the attendance upon and for the management, classification, and discipline of the schools. and such regulations, when recorded in the official records of the school board, shall be binding upon pupils and teachers. I'm neither. Furthermore, the policy in question, which the school board is attempting to unlawfully and without authority enforce, is titled the Stay Open Plan. In plain English, on pages 9 and 10, that policy has a mask mandate that requires students to wear masks on school buses per CDC Order 361, and then says it expects students to wear masks when the indoor school transmission level is substantial or high. Under the paragraph that covers mask mandates, there is no mention of visitors or members of the public. That's located on page 12 and 13. Under the heading Visitors, the paragraph states, and quote, members of the public will be expected to be symptom-free and follow the district's requirements for mask wearing and social distancing. The question of semantics. Laws are made of words. Words matter. The words required and expected are not interchangeable. For instance, I expect to win the lottery when I buy a ticket, but I'm required to pay my property taxes. Do you see the difference? Required is like the words mandatory, must, shall, but expected? That word insinuates hope and that something will happen. The school board may expect me to wear a mask, but I do not have to wear a mask. Whoever carefully wrote the document understands the difference from a legal perspective, and so do I. Furthermore, the school board's own policy on pages 87 of 521 pages, I suggest you read it sometime, it states, the board shall take action and make decisions only at a regular or special meeting. Unless otherwise altered by school board action, regular meetings of the Governor Wentworth School Board may be held at a public location. So by their own policy manual, they must hold their meetings in public. Therefore, the venue in this case, the Kingswood Arts Center, is public. And as a member of the public, I have the legal right to be there under New Hampshire RSA 91A. The building may be district property, but when it comes to board meetings, the venue must be public. This is in black and white. There's no question about it. Secondly, on this point, on the same page, under Section 1, it goes on to state, a majority of the board shall constitute a quorum. No legal action can be taken except at a duly constituted meeting of the board with a quorum present. If you watch the video of the school board meeting, you'll notice the meeting was never convened. Therefore, the board chair, Jack Widmer, had no authority to order us from the room, as he would have had to take a vote from the board to create a second meeting location to segregate the masked from the unmasked. Also on page 95, out of 521 pages, the school board policy states under the section titled Law, Philosophy, and Enforcement, just turn to that page here. There it is. It says, finally, this is in quote, finally, these are final words, finally, the board requires all employees and students to comply with its formally adopted policies. Sounds to me like that rule doesn't apply to me, because I'm neither. Therefore, I'm filing a right to know request after this meeting, post haste. It's a request to the Wolfeboro Police Department, directed to Dean Rondo. I need to understand how you, this police chief with over 20 years of experience, and by his own admission to me during the non-public part of the school board meeting, mind you, while I was unmasked in the auditorium that I had been banished from and served a summons for being in without a mask. It was okay in the non-public session. Dean told me he had talked to school district attorneys, the county prosecutor, among others. I just need to understand, Dean, how you missed such a glaring error as to ignore the legal document in question, which spells out the rule in plain English. This is more than a mistake. You've deprived an entire group of people their basic rights guaranteed by both the New Hampshire and the US constitutions. which you took an oath to protect. Who do you work for? The school board or the people? Read the mission statement of the Wolfeboro Police Department. Here it is. I wasn't supposed to say that. It says, the mission of the Wolfeboro Police Department is to enhance the quality of life in the community by working cooperatively with the public within the framework of the United States Constitution, the Constitution of the State of New Hampshire, and ordinances and policies of the town of Wolfeboro to enforce the laws, preserve the peace, and reduce crime in an effort to provide a safe community for all citizens. Through fair and impartial enforcement of state laws and ordinances in the town of Wolfeboro. And it goes on to say at the very last part of this that you're for the enforcement and the safeguarding of constitutional rights. Finally, today I'm making an official complaint of police misconduct, specifically against Chief Rondo as the commanding officer who ordered the arrests of 5 innocent members of the public, resulting in them being deprived of their rights outlined in New Hampshire RSA 91A, as well as Parts 1, Section 8 of the New Hampshire Constitution. You should be ashamed of yourself. Intellectual lethargy, paired with political perversion and a lack of personal integrity, is the basis of all corruption. It begins here, in small towns, and has infected our entire republic. It'd be a terrible shame for you to tarnish an honorable career with such a brazen disregard for the freedom you fought so hard to protect. This police commission has a duty to, per section 105C4, to remove any employee without just cause. This directive from Chief Rondeau was knowingly unlawful, premeditated, and orchestrated with Kathy Cuddy Egbert upon innocent members of the public who now have their reputations and livelihoods on the line. This is the last thing I'm going to ask you today, that all charges be dropped against each member of the public who was unlawfully charged with crimes they did not commit. The school board lacks authority to enforce a mask mandate on members of the public while in a public venue. Dean Rondeau and the school board chair, Jack Widmer, along with Superintendent Kathy Cuddy Egbert, deprived the public of their rights under the color of law. It's a federal crime, and I would think that our local law enforcement would know to do better. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Jessica. At this time, we're going to also allow public input, which we typically do later in the meeting. Again, so the rest of you don't have to sit around and go through the drudgery, if you will, of our typical business that we do every month. But before we begin with that, we do have a limit of 15 minutes in total. So for those that wish to speak, I would ask you to come up to the microphone as Jessica did. State your name clearly so that we have it for record, and then feel free to speak. We ask that what you have to say remain cordial. We don't want things to go south. We're not here for that. We're here to listen to you. We're taking notes. This is not falling on deaf ears, but we're here to listen. Jessica made a very good point in her presentation under the RSA 91A. We are compelled, as any municipal board, when we have a public hearing, to allow members of the public. We obviously have a much larger turnout today than we typically do. But that being said, we are not compelled to allow people to speak. But we've made a conscious decision. It is in our standard operating procedure that was adopted in 2017. As a police commissioner, we will allow public input at our meetings, but we always maintain that it has to be cordial, respectful, and to the point. We don't want to get into a back and forth or engaging in a lot of rhetoric or accusatory discussions and so forth. So if things start to kind of go that way, I may hit the gavel just to let you know that, okay, you've kind of crossed that line if you want to continue. But again, this is a 15-minute time frame. I'll let you folks decide who's, how long you wish to speak for, but we are here to listen, and if somebody would like to speak, please feel free to stand up. It is now 4:15. We'll go to 4:30. Just stand up to the microphone, state your name, and make your statements. Is there anybody at this time? Sir, go right ahead.
My name's Jody Person.
Okay,
I was at that school board meeting,
Okay.
and I had an opportunity to talk to the chief a little bit before everything happened. And I want to start out just quickly with apologizing to you. I yelled when we were in the meeting when there was a 14-year-old girl. You started to write the summonses. I did stand up and I did yell. Shame on you, Chief, shame on you. I want to apologize for that outburst. I shouldn't have acted like that. I should have come and seen you after or another day and talked to you about the issue I had. So I don't know what the answer is here, but I just wanted to get that apology out there. I'm not a judge, I'm not a lawyer. Like I told you before, I think we're in uncharted waters with this. And I wish I had an answer, and I just want what's right. So I'll leave it at that.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Person. Appreciate it. Ma'am?
Diane Sebastian, Mara Lake. I was at the meeting that night, and I think the thing that got me, and I've known Dean for a long time, I respect him. The thing that got me that night was it seemed to be all planned, the whole thing, and that just seemed to me not to be right. They had the extra room. They knew everything they were going to do in advance. I don't know, that just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Thank you.
Obviously, we can't speak to anything regarding the school board. That's not within our purview. We have no direct relationship or indirect relationship with them, but I understand your point very clearly. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak? Okay. Thank you for being here. We do appreciate, we do like to see people exercising their right to gather and to attend meetings. We will take everything that we've heard under advisement and act accordingly. So thank you. Appreciate it. I'm sorry, one more thing. Is there anybody that has any questions of the commission before you leave? Yes, Paul Swanek.
Charges against the school board.
I'm sorry?
Any charges against the school board at all for obstructing a government proceeding?
Charges against the school board? Not that I'm aware of, but again, that's not really within our purview. I'm not aware of any. Are you aware of any charges?
Well, they were obstructing with illegal demands and intimidation.
I'm not aware of any of that, but
It's on the video. It's actually a violation of Section 1505 of Title 18 United States Code as amended by the Victim Witness Protection Act of 1982. You may want to consider that too.
get that, Chief?
I do, but my recommendation is, I didn't see anything like that, but my recommendation is if you think there was a law violated by the school board or by the SAU, contact the Public Integrity Unit of the Attorney General's office. They have investigators. They'll be happy to send them down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Anybody else that might have a question? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, then, Luke, I'm going to defer to you if you'd like to speak. Our liaison from the Board of Selectmen, do you have anything at this point before we get into our monthly reports?
Thanks for having me. We're getting ready to start budget proceedings. Tonight we have agencies coming before the board. We'll be reviewing the budgets for that. Had some good conversations with the chief about the budget for this coming year. and it seems that it's much in line with what the town manager and the Board of Selectmen have directed. So I'm looking forward to seeing the completed budget, and all good things on the budget side. Looks like we're going to be holding that line as much as possible. Obviously, there's the issues of insurance, fuel costs, and ongoing retirement that always affects the budget. And I think, as we move forward as selectmen and the budget committee, I think that we got to give a clear picture to the general public that even when there is a 0% increase across the board, across all departments, those costs are fixed costs that we really can't control. And that's what ultimately ends up tickling that up from that 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4%. When you see yearly budget increases, there's a lot of work that, as the police department and every other single department goes through in the course of getting ready for budget season. And, for instance, for the public, so they know, the police commission, the captain and the chief work on their budget all year long. Then it goes to the commission. The commission really dives into it. At that point, it comes before the town manager. He reviews it with the chief and the captain. More cuts are made, pens sharpened, pencil sharpened. Those details are ironed out. Then it comes to the Board of Selectmen. Again, the chief and the captain and the board comes and presents. We sharpen our pencil as much as we can. Things are removed, things are added. Finally, it goes to the budget committee, and then ultimately it goes to the voters for an up or down vote for a default budget. There's a lot of nuances to the budget, and I think the public, should know how many eyes actually go into seeing this thing and how many hundreds of hours are spent developing this and making it as fiscally sound as we possibly can, given the directive that we are going to be at a 0% increase for the year. And I just want to, thank the commission and the chief and the captain from what looks like, from what I've talked to the chief about, a very sound, fiscally sound budget coming forward to the board this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Okay. Our next meeting is going to be, again, on Wednesday, October 27th, both this week and in October. These are abnormal meeting times, if you will. We made a change due to a scheduling conflict. After that, from November on, we'll get back to our third Thursday of the month. Thank you, Gary. Okay, Chief, at this time, if you would like to proceed with our monthly reports, or your monthly reports, I'm sorry.
Next slide. So as you gentlemen can see behind you, for incidents for year-to-date 21, we were up 25% from 48,260. You gentlemen have the breakout of those offenses, which listed to 94 in your packets if you want to drill down on the data. The arrests were also up 21.42% from 28 to 34. Again, that's typical for that time of year. Again, you gentlemen have the breakup data in your packets if you want to drill down and see the specific arrests and charges made. Moving on to the next slide in your slide deck, again behind you and up on the screen. Next slide, please. You'll see collisions year to date, and we were up 6.25% in August from 16 in July to from 16 in July to 17 in August. Fairly reasonable. Not too bad. So I was pretty happy with that. Traffic stops year to date 2021 we're down. So next slide, please. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Next slide. I'm sorry. We're down 24.31% from 469 to 355. At that time, 17 tickets were given out, 4.78% chance of getting a ticket. Relative to those stops, A lot of those were for uninspected, unregistered motor vehicles, and we're still seeing a huge number of uninspected and unregistered motor vehicles, and not by even a few months, but in many instances by a few years. In fact, one individual I stopped hadn't had his vehicle registered since 2017, and then wanted to argue about the vehicle that it was registered when in fact it came back with dead plates. So that's the type of stuff that we're seeing out there. I just want to educate the public that the driver's license always expires on your birth date. The registration expires the last day of your birth month, and your inspection technically expires the last day of your birth month, but the state gives you a 10-day grace period into the next month to get the vehicle inspected. It does not give you a 10-day grace period for registrations. The vehicle is, if your birthday's like mine in March, when it's done on 31 March, 1 April, that vehicle is illegal to be on the road, and folks should take caution with that. Moving on to the next slide in your deck is going to be the officer year-to-date stats. This is fairly consistent with what we've seen in years past. There is no school resource officer report, gentlemen, because school has only been in session for 2 months. There will be next month. Remember, the reporting period is for August. The kids are still on vacation. Moving on to the detective's report. There's the breakdown of the slides for the traffic crashes. If you wanted to see those, you do have that slide in your slide deck. I believe that completes it. Next slide, please. And moving on to the monthly report for the detective. For the month of August, Detective Emerson investigated 4 new cases. The cases below represent all the incident and arrests for the month of August. All 4 cases were investigated as misdemeanors. In addition to Detective Emerson's assigned cases, Detective Emerson assisted state and federal agencies in town on multiple occasions. Detective Emerson assisted agents from the Manchester Police in their counterterrorism division, which falls under the umbrella of the FBI. Detective Emerson located the individual they were searching for and was asked to participate in the questioning of that individual. Detective Emerson worked with the New Hampshire State Police detectives after he received information out of Florida of possible evidence in a suspicious death case. Detective Emerson also met with agents of the FBI who were attempting to locate an individual. Detective Emerson was able to locate that individual for them, and he was later arrested. Detective Emerson also assisted in locating a male subject spotted in town who was an active warrant for his arrest. The arrest was made without incidents. Cases assigned investigated were 3 theft cases, 1 possession of drugs. Percentage of cases closed this month were 69, percentage of new cases closed by arrest this month were 25, and percentage of entire cases closed year-to-date is 71%. That's pretty good. You do have the investigator's monthly work summary as a backup slide in your deck. And then, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll move into Chief's items.
Sure.
Again, I have no items for non-public session. Presently, the PD continues to execute the FY21 budget well, and we are still showing slight under-expenditures of approximately 2%. This fluctuates each week. This is normal. Throughout the course of the year, there are always minor cost savings that are realized throughout the session, which contribute to these minor amounts of unexpected appropriations. The next quarterly FY21 budget review will be at the October Commission meeting for the end of September budget review. This will be the town's end of the 3rd quarter budget, 4th quarter federal budget, following the Chief's items presentation. Additionally, we have started in earnest in the construction of the FY22 budget. So far, all is going well, and I am not expecting any major requests for appropriations. Because of the Tesla donation, we will not be asking for a vehicle this year, so there is a very nice savings to the town. As we have been directed by Town Hall to prepare the budget using new budget guidelines, there will be a slight delay in gathering our budget construction team, which consists of the Commission, our 3 LNOs to the Budget Committee, and our boss LNO. And I'm happy to report that we had that meeting last week, and we did go over the budget with our LNOs, and I think everything is in order, and everybody had an opportunity to weigh in and take the information back to their respective budgeting teams. So I was very happy that we were able to get that done. Incidentally, with this new budget, I will be rewriting my FY22 goals and objectives. As I stated last meeting, this document forms the basis of the FY22 budget and ties the budget directly to my goals and objectives. I will send this document out once it is completed for review, discussion, and changes pursuant to the wishes for the Police Commission. I've done that, as you gentlemen know, and that has indeed gone to the town manager, the town finance officer, and the rest of the budget committee, and is included in backup along with our asset management plan, which was also completed and is part of the backup documentation. And I think that asset management plan is pretty telling when you look at the amount of money we're spending on repairs for the vehicles versus when they're scheduled to go out of service. So that's a very, very good document.
We, I don't have that right up in front of me. Are we tracking on how much fuel each particular vehicle uses, or is it just the gross amount?
No, we don't drill down to that level of depth. Quite frankly, I don't know if that's possible, but we can certainly ask.
Oh, I remember, of course, I'm going back 20-plus years ago when I worked for the town with the electric department, and when we would go to fill up one of our trucks, we would write down the truck number. We only had 2 bucket trucks and a digger derrick, or a pickup or 2, but we would put down the vehicle number.
Yeah, we don't write it down, but they do have a system with the town, but I think they're getting a new software because there's been an issue with the software. Reading of the gas.
I know, because there's been questions asked about fuel savings with hybrid and so forth, the hybrid vehicle, like with the Hybrid Explorer. And it'd be easy to compare that to a regular Explorer if we were able to, get that information. But if the town can't provide that, then we're kind of at a...
If you would like, I will talk to Ben Eldridge, who is the chief mechanic for the town, and I will see if that is something that we can track that's doable.
I mean, right now, with the majority of the fleet being Tauruses and a few Tauruses, but mostly regular Explorers, and we've only got one hybrid on the road and the second one that just came in that's not on the road yet. Obviously, there is going to be some fuel savings there, but I just didn't know how that was tracked so that we could answer those questions.
Sherry, do we get the monthly consumption or just the price?
Get monthly consumption. Gallons used.
But we could go
This one group, it's all grouped together, yeah.
It's 713 gallons were used.
Yeah, so
that's the best you could probably use.
I think trying to track, and I'm just going through the mechanics in my head right now and trying to do the mental gymnastics. I think if everything was equal and we were using the vehicles equally, then I think you could do that and show a hybrid vehicle is using less than, say, an older Ford Explorer. But that's the problem. The vehicles rotate through shifts as well. So, for example, vehicle on the midnight shift may use more, believe it or not, because the officer, he may drive more miles than an officer on the day shift who might be dealing with a handful of situations and only get five miles from the PD.
Or school crossings morning.
Or school crossing or something like that. I think where you're going to see it is with the 5-year averages and the gallons of usage. That's where I think you'll see the reduction in fuel, because that's a cumulative over the course of a year, and if we're balancing it over a 3 or 5-year average, I think that's really going to be very accurate. So does that make sense?
It does indeed, thank you.
Yeah. So, but I will see if we can track it by vehicle. I'll see if we can.
I didn't know if maybe the town had the software, as the captain suggested, if they're going to get some. If they had, I know with our organization, all of the trucks, all the cars in the fleet have cards, but they're fleet cards, basically a charge card that gets charged back to the company. But even if there was just a card that they could identify the vehicles with and how much going in, it might help. I don't know. If there's a genuine interest in finding out, the overall savings.
I think from the message that we got the meeting was, is there going to be significant improvement with hybrid vehicles as opposed to regular vehicles? And that was a point that was brought up by the township manager.
Yeah, and, you know, let's talk about that real quick, because that came up during the town managers meeting, and I've heard other people talk about it. Tom Bell had sent me an email, and I responded to his email, and I think I sent that to you gentlemen, but I think it's worthy enough of a point of discussion. We should talk about it at the public session here. So I did say that with the hybrid vehicles, based off the information we received from Ford, that we would see approximately 30% cost savings with a hybrid vehicle, and I think that's true. Our 5-year average that we used for calculations this year, now remember, and so I'm going to say this real quick, and then I'm going to caveat for a moment, but we did reduce our gasoline usage by approximately, you know, about 175 gallons or so from last year to this year, number one. And that was based off of our 3-year, I believe we did a 3-year average on that, or did we do a 5-year average?
We did 3, 17, 18.
Say again?
17, 18, and 19. We did not include.
That's right, right. So we didn't use 2020 because that was an anomaly year because of COVID. So we didn't, we excluded that year. So we did do a 3-year average. So having said that, what is up this year is gasoline. The cost of gasoline is up tremendously. When we budgeted last year was $1.87 times the number of gallons, which was we budgeted for slightly over 9,000 gallons. This year we budgeted for 8,000 and change at $2.56. So that's almost a 2.25% jump in the cost of gasoline in a year. So sure, there's an increased dollar cost there. The gallons per usage is down, and that's important. Now, the other thing that's important to remember, and as I explained to the town manager when he brought this up, because he said the same thing, hey, Chief, you promised us a cost savings. Right. You got to remember, I've only had one hybrid vehicle in the fleet for approximately 9 months, okay? And though we've been talking about hybrid vehicles for the past 3 years, and the reason it seems like we've been talking about them longer is, sure, we have been talking about them for a long period of time, and it's taking a good 10 months, a solid 10 months from the point of order to the point of time we get that vehicle in service and operational. It takes that long. So we saw that with the hybrid vehicle that we ordered in 2020. We saw that with the hybrid vehicle that we ordered this year, that we literally just took down. We just took possession of it late last week, and we just got down to two-way communications for the upfitting. Now that vehicle will now go at the end of the queue, and will now take 6 weeks or 8 weeks for it to be upfitted. So, you know, we'll be lucky to see that vehicle in operation anytime before December. So this is part and parcel of the issue, right? That, yes, we order a vehicle in March, right after town vote, but it's a good 10 months before we're even going to lay our hands on it. And so it's not going into service. Over time, when we get these hybrid vehicles in, and then, of course, now we got the Tesla donation. That was the same thing. We got the donation in June. Though we've been talking about it since April, I guess, and got it in June, and now it's July before it sees operation. So there's a time, there's an appreciable time lag. So sure, when we get more vehicles in the fleet that are hybrids, you'll see greater and greater cost savings. But we've already reduced it by, you know, approximately 200 gallons or so in that neighborhood, and I think we'll see more cost savings. I can't do anything about the price of gasoline. You know, I just can't, right? And so that's all there is to it. And so sure, the cost of gas is up, but the gallons of usage is down, and I think it'll continue to go down. So we'll go from there. So that's all that on gallons and cost of the hybrid vehicles. But I think the hybrid vehicles are a good way to go. We have to get a handle on our energy consumption. Every town department has to get a handle on its energy consumption. They really do.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on with operations, criminal investigations, and prosecutions. In terms of police investigations and operations, the month of August was busy. Our numbers are consistent to our past busy summers. The department has conducted its investigation, has concluded its investigation into the 5-car motor vehicle crash which occurred last November. The investigation has proved that the driver of the offending vehicle suffered a medical emergency which could not have been prevented. No charges will be forthcoming, though administrative actions are likely to occur. This past month, 17 cases were heard, charging 19 separate offenses. Of those 17 defendants, 14 were found guilty or pled guilty at trial. 3 others were placed on file pending good behavior and restitution in other classes as part of their agreement. The conviction rate this past month is 100%, with $6,178 in fines, restitution, and penalties meted out by the courts. Safety and security matters. Traffic and activity in Wolfeboro remains high as folks try to get the last vestiges of summer in. I suspect that it will be this way at least until the Columbus Day weekend. We will be out and about in town and the compact portion of town maintaining a systemic presence as always. Lastly, during significant weather events, if you don't have to go out, don't. A vast majority of our crashes occur during periods of inclement weather. Plan for needs ahead of these storms. Cancel non-important appointments or events. If possible, please be safe. Motor vehicle enforcement. In an effort to mitigate the traffic crashes we realize monthly, we'll be continuing a strong proactive approach to motor vehicle enforcement. This can be seen in our monthly briefing slides. We will be conducting aggressive speed reduction patrols all through town, so please, if you are in a habit of speeding, don't. Lastly, we continue to deploy assets and patrols to be identified to our problem areas. The department is continuing its enhanced speed enforcement operations in the following areas: Laner Street, Forest Road, Cotton Valley and College Road, Distorted Road, Beach Pond Road, with a focus on the areas between Pine Hill Road, North Line Road, Center Street, North Main Street, 109 East, Bay Street, and Sewell Road. The reason for these speed enforcement operations is due to citizen complaints and data collected and analyzed by our radar trailer. We will continue our efforts in these areas until we are sure that these speeds have come down. If you travel these roads, please be mindful of the posted speed limits. Training. The only training we had for the PD was Sergeant Strzok, and that was K-9 training. With dispatch, there's nothing significant to report. And outreach and matters of interest, both the captain and I continue to meet with concerned citizens regarding a wide range of issues and community topics. I'm still conducting our weekly radio talk show with Eric Scott at WASR. So please be our guest on this show each Monday at 12 noon. Please call in and ask your questions and join in the discussion. Let's get involved and solve community issues or simply have a good time. All are welcome. Both the captain and I spoke on Wolfeboro Community TV this past month. Captain Livy continues to be part of the master planning process and the technical review and joint loss committees, and I know he really enjoys those assignments. I continue to serve on the Governor's Commission for the Humane and Ethical Treatment of Animals. Lastly, please be our guest on Coffee and Connections. And safety tip of the month. September is here. It's pumpkin spice season finally. The temps will be dropping soon and fall is on the way. Please be mindful of the children out and about trying to eke out the last remnants of summer before heading back to school. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, subject to the Commission's questions, that's all I have.
Okay. Sean, do you have any questions?
I'm good.
Bob? Okay, if nobody has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner O'Brien,
I second it.
seconded by Commissioner Coop. All in favor?
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yeah, I know it's Sean O'Brien, that's why I always confuse. All in favor?
Sure.